Hello. Okay, so I'm going to record this video. Um, what we're going to do is we're going to graph each equation now. Okay, so we're given the first one. So like I mentioned earlier in the first video, this is the equation for a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. If you see that this example, if you don't see an h or k or a number subtracted from the x's and y's, you assume that h and k, I'm going to make that bigger. Hopefully it works this time. Okay, there we go. All right. So h and k this time is going to be 0, comma 0. Okay. So what we want to do next is we need to determine our radius. So in order to determine our radius, that's basically r, it's defined by r squared. So r squared in this case is going to be this part here. So r squared equals 25. Okay. So if you guys remember how to get r by itself, what you would have to do is you would have to take the square root of both sides. So if you take the square root of both sides, you get r equals the square root of 25, and you get r equals 5. Okay, so we have two parameters that we're going to consider: our center of the circle and our radius. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to graph that function. X squared plus y squared equals 25. And I'm going to plot the center of the circle. The center of the circle we said is 0, comma 0. You see this here? This is the center of the circle. Notice if you look at this graph, that's how you would graph it on your paper. So if you had to graph it on paper, what I would suggest is making 4 points on the outside of the circle. So for example, you could put a point here, 5, comma 0. You could plot a point up here, 0, comma 5. You could plot a point here, negative 5, comma 0. And you can plot a point on the bottom, which would be 0, comma negative 5. Plot those points, you can create a nice little circle here. The radius is determined by the center, and you go out to the outside circle, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. This means the radius is 5 units long, which implies that our radius is 5, and our center of the circle starts at 0, comma 0, for the equation x squared plus y squared equals 25. Okay? All right. So that's basically how you would go about doing that. Okay. So next one I want to show you then. Okay. So letter B. What we want to do is we want to graph this equation now. Same idea. Same idea from this. What some of you might have trouble with is that if you have a plus here, this has to be a negative 2. You see that? 2 negatives become positive. K is 1. Okay? So in order to find our center of the circle, that's h comma k. So that is negative 2, comma 1. Okay? Our radius of the circle is found by taking this expression here. That's r squared. R squared is 4. If you guys remember how to take square roots, r is basically the square root. You take the square root of both sides, and take the square root of both sides. So then you have square root of 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. So you're considering two different parameters. This is your center of the circle, hk, and that's your radius. Okay, so I'm going to graph that. So x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. and we're going to graph the center, which is -2, 1. So you see this here, that's the center of the circle. That's the center of the circle, -2, 1. Right? The radius, if you see here, is 2 units long. That's represented by r squared. There. Okay. All right. Next one. Letter C. So, same idea. If you guys kind of see a pattern with this, this is 0, this is -3, and this is going to be, well, we have to figure it out, take square root of 1, but I'll show you that later. So, what we have is h comma k. H comma k is 0, comma, -3. Our radius, r squared, is going to equal 1. So what we need to do is we need to take the square root of both sides. Take the square root of both sides, find the square root of 1. So square root of 1 is 1. So these are two parameters we're looking at. The center, 0, comma, -3, and a radius of 1. Okay, so just gonna erase what we have here. So we have x squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 1, and we also have the center, which is at 0, comma, -3. So if you look at this circle, it has a center at 0, comma, -3, and the radius of it is 1. The radius is 1 unit long. Okay? Last one. Okay. Letter D. Okay. So, same idea. What we need to do is fill in the gaps. H is 1. K is 1. So what we know is we know that H comma K is going to be 1 comma 1, and our radius is going to be defined by this value here. R squared is going to be 16. So what we need to do is we need to take the square root of both sides. Take the square root of both sides, and that's how you simplify this. Square root of 16 is 4. So the two parameters that we're looking at is 1 comma 1, and that's our center, 1 comma 1, and our radius is 4. So what we need to do is just go back to our original equation, x minus 1 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 16, and our center is at 1 comma 1, 1 comma 1. Okay, so if you look at this circle, it has a center at 1 comma 1, and it also has a radius. Count how many units? 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So the radius is 4 units long, and that's how you would graph the circle. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so if you guys have trouble graphing the circle too, you could also, once you start from your center, just count 4 units to the right, 4 units to the left, 4 units up, 4 units down, plot those points, and create a nice circle. Create this awesome red circle that you see there. Right, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps you with that first part of the assignment. Thanks, bye.